Love Lies Bleeding. Now that takes me back a long time. Gary T here. Another one of those influence talks. I can remember back in 1973 when my cousin turned me on to Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Now, I'd been listening to a lot of music before then. I was 13 years old. My father had a Magnavox stereo and was always playing Ray Conniff, all the things of the time, the 60s. And the 70s, you had a lot of stuff coming out, especially 73 if you think about it. You had Dark Side of the Moon, you had Electric Ladyland, you had one of the Beatles albums, it might have been Abbey Road, and you had Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. And I sat and listened to that whole album for weeks on end. Hadn't even thought about playing guitar. I'd always loved music. But as time went on, I would always go back and listen to that album. Decades would go by and I'd listen to that album. And it never, it never got outgrown. It never, it made a stand that stayed there, just like the other albums of that year that came out. I mean, Electric Ladyland, and Dark Side of the Moon. But there was important ingredients in Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I mean, it was a double album back in those days. You had those. She had Bernie Taupin writing the lyrics, all kinds of lyrics about all kinds of things that were real things that you could relate to. Candle in the Wind about Marilyn Monroe, things like that. And get the gangster songs that were on there. And even Roy Rogers that was on there, things like that. But the rockin'est song to me was, when you first put the album on, you've got Funeral for a Friend and you've got this long, kind of gloomy organ and all of this stuff. With just layers and layers of music. Great piano playing on there. Elton John is just a superb piano player. Great singer. But his band, Davy Johnstone on guitar, the dude is still playing like he did back then. He was the reason that I bought a Les Paul. This is a real Gibson Les Paul traditional with 57 pickups in it, and it's just a badass, 12-pound hunk of wood. And I'm playing out of a little bit 10-watt amp, and you get that kind of sound out of it. But Davy Johnstone, you had Dee Murray on bass, you had Nigel Olsson on the drums, Ray Cooper on percussion. You had a symphony of people and instruments. And I don't think anybody else could have done an album like that. If you go through all the different songs, all the variations, each song was like a separate opus. There was really something to it. They took a lot of time to make that album and those songs work and last. I mean, through the years, I've listened to all kinds of things that have influenced me. Guitar playing or piano playing or songs, vocals, you name it. Bagpipes from my heritage, my Scottish heritage, things of that sort. But that Love Lies Bleeding, I can remember the first time and every time I hear it when that first kicks in. The lyric to it just glides, but that one riff, that Davy Johnstone does there, it's like all hell's breaking loose, and then and even that one pull-off that riff that he does was Love Lies Bleeding in Your It's just an amazing song. It's a powerful song. I turned my son on to Yellow Brick Road last year, and he was 6 years old, and he really loved Roy Rogers just because of the melody in it. and a lot of the other songs that were on there. He grew to, but I would always make him suffer through Funeral for a Friend so that I could listen to Love Lies Bleeding. And sitting down and learning Love Lies Bleeding, which I only did a couple of years ago. I was like, I've been listening to this song. I love this song. I'm going to learn this song. And so I sat down, and it was, it's got a lot of changes there. It's a really cool song. But the tone of it, no, you just can't beat that, that the big Les Paul sound. And thinking of a Les Paul sound in that kind of band, that kind of orchestration, or Elton John. A lot of people look at Elton John and think about Disney songs and love songs and this, that, and the other. But you back up to the '70s, Yellow Brick Road, then Captain Fantastic, and then Rock of the Westies. You got rock and roll. That's what you got. But that's Elton John to me. Please comment. Because I know somebody like Elton John and like Pink Floyd, they mean different things to different people. But please, my buddies, Kevin Ramsey, Max Hanley, Jay Palmer, I know he's, all you guys that I talk to, let me know what your thoughts are on that. Y'all have a good one.